Good morning. Uh-oh, still frozen.
Oh no.
So sorry.
Technical issues right out of the gate.
Technical issues and on my bad side.
We are professional YouTubers here.
Exactly. All right. Okay, so we have audio and then this camera is working. Let's see.
Small victories.
Yep. Oh, I see. Let's see. Oh, not responding.
Meanwhile, I'm already coloring because I'm just like, yeah.
Oh my god, it keeps putting the wrong one up.
Oh, new StreamYard. Why you gotta play so dirty?
Is it working? It's working.
It is.
Thank
Yeah.
you. All right. Oh, StreamYard. I gotta love it. I'm gonna have to look into something else. All right. Anyway, there is Ken. Good morning. I'm gonna assume Ken is not hanging out because he's probably got to go drink and get lost and go to the wrong bathroom again. Canada, what can you do? It's drinking and
Yep. Gotta go to church and get drunk.
taxi cabs to Ottawa. Good morning, Hoover. Exactly, two of your favorites. We know it. Good morning, Mint with Card. Hello, let's do it. Let's color some Shira. Nolan, good morning. We've arrived. Nolan is here. As is Rhea Black. Hello, Alex. Black Phoenix, welcome. Funny to see you on this side rather than in Reels. Alex shares some of the best things on the internet. Mm-hmm. And you've seen some of them because I've been sharing them with you. So, all right, I think we're caught up on chat. All right. So anyway, obviously we're getting a slightly later start thanks to technical whatnot. It also could be a little bit me as well. The new computer is not set up yet. It's all over here because I do work from a 2017 PC, which is 1953 in computer time and in American time right now. So anyway, that's unfair. Anyway, so yeah, we're doing some Shira today.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were. No, you're fine. Say whatever. So yeah. So Andrew picked some Shira, and I picked this one of Shira and Swiftwind. I probably will not finish this today, so if you're expecting
a little more advanced,
not so much.
I've already started because I'm a loser, but Frost is my girl, so I decided to go hard on that. So a lot of blues. We'll see if I can spice it up more than just 4 shades of blue, but we'll see how this goes.
If you have purples, you could depending on how those color pencils you have. What do they call them in Canada?
Crayola?
Yeah, there you go. Depending on how they blend, you could probably with purples and blues get a lot of mixtures. So
probably not well. So I'm not known for my coloring on this channel.
I've tried. You've come a long way though since the first time you were here.
Yeah, I think it was last time I was doing Roadblock, and I was like, ooh,
you said
undertones, you say.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who can't get skin tones, any skin tones, much less a darker skin tone. So you did really well with that. So congratulations.
So, there are people
there are people I know who have really big YouTube channels who do really terrible with darker skin tones. So I watched a lot of tutorials, because I wanted to, do well, and I was like, this isn't very good. So
well, the funny thing too is I think I won many coloring contests through the local newspaper when I was growing up. So in my head, I was like spelling. I'm the best speller and the best colorer, and that's just how it is. And that's not really true, but
hey, if you won contest in the newspaper,
I feel like it speaks more loudly to the competition than it does to me.
Possibly. I won one of those as a kid, and I got a free bike through Smurf cereal. There was
Oh
some
yeah,
sort of contest, and they sent me a bike. It was blue. It was it was a good bike. Like
I
it
remember
had
like winning
tassels on the
contests.
front.
Like now, I just play the lottery, and it's not really working out for me. But when I was a kid, I mean, like I won the Tuscan Warrior from Thundercats via Shreddy's cereal. I won
Uh-huh.
like a nice camera from one of these coloring contests. Like I was like rich,
Oh,
like I was like rich with prizes. And now I'm like lottery. I just need to win the lottery
right.
so I can
You
buy
need
a
your
snake layer.
you need your duck to come through.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. Oh, and then Shiny Plastic People has arrived.
Mr. Chris, it's
Hello,
my turn.
Stanley. Lovely to see you today. But yeah. Well, it's funny. Well, it's not technically winning, but one of my last Shira things, um, like the last Shira figure I bought as a kid was Natasa at Kmart. She was on clearance because it was, the line was dead. Um, and I was excited to get her because Natasa was a Melloway figure. They put a flyer in. I think the flyer I got was with my scratching sound Captra. I could be wrong. It could have been with Mermista. But it was like collect so many proof of purchases, send in $1, and we'll send you the new mystery figure. And it was in Tasa. Like they kind of said that in Shira magazine. But I guess they were out of Natasa by the time my stuff got in, so they sent me another Frosta.
I mean,
I was like, so I gave the Frosta to the neighbor girl. Well, like I had a bunch because like everyone's like, oh, they all peg warmed. Like they even say that in the Powers of Grayskull when they're like, why, what killed She-Ra? And they're like, we overshipped wave 1. It's like, you did not overship because I had like 3 of each.
well, I remember too, like the girls at the like in elementary school, like it was cutthroat. I mean, they especially when Shira came out, I mean, they were like, it's our time now, bitches. And like
Yeah.
I know for a fact, like, and granted, this is like rural Nova Scotia, but they were like, they'd bring them to school and they were like, I got Casaspella, I got whatever. And it was like hair pulling, name calling, like they were like,
Yeah.
they're like, how dare you get this?
Well,
Like
and
I was like, this
they
is
rolled out, so they didn't, like a lot of people when they talk about like wave 1, they're like, oh, like there were 9 figures. It's like, bitch, that's not how it worked. So She-Ra, allegedly, and I think it's sort of like the Ghostbusters thing where it's like there are people like they were out in '86. It's like, there were some orders. Maybe it's possible a few catalog orders went out. So possibly they say it because of 1984 copyright on it, but it's just like that's just how trademarks and copyrights work. You have to, you register it like in the moment so nobody else gets it. So if you submit in 1984, that's when your copyright goes through. And that's when Filmation and everything was happening. So that's not the year the toys were released. Possibly She-Ra hit late 1984. But it didn't, what Secret of the Sword didn't hit until March of 1985. And that's, like most of the characters weren't out yet. I
the
didn't
other
find.
thing we were learning just this weekend. I mean, like when someone says, and that's where, like, especially when something comes out around a new year, like, I mean, TLS is supposed to put out Gem in Walmart in
Yeah.
February or March. She's out. Like,
Yeah.
there's pictures floating last night from like, one of the Sanders brothers of all people, the creators of Monster High. He's like,
Yeah, right.
found
Yeah,
her.
right.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's street dates are suggestions.
Yeah, right. And if you got a case of She-Ra right before Christmas back in 1984, you're gonna put that out, whether street date is January 1 or whatever.
Oh yeah. And back
But
then there
like,
was no like internet, so it's not like, I mean, who's gonna tell you?
yeah,
Who's gonna
right.
know?
So I just, I didn't like. There were rumors, there were commercials. I didn't find She-Ra until like May of 1985. At some point, I'll finish writing that episode of My Favorite Toy about And She-Ra's the reason I still sort of eat the McRib all these years later and love the McRib.
Mhm.
But it was She-Ra, and then weeks went by, and then finally the wave with Catra, Bo, and Angela showed up. Like those cases started showing up. All of those came with the same mini comic at first. The Journey to Miser. It was like all you could find that first summer. It was She-Ra, Bo, Angela, Catra, all three of the horses, and Crystal Castle. That was it. And then
Really pump
toward
those
the
horses
end
up.
of summer, Castaspella and Glimmer hit. And that's when the mini comic for Double Trouble also hit that summer. A lot of people are like, she didn't come out till fall. It's like, no, bitch. She was out summer because I got her at Kmart summer of '85. She came with the Journey to Miser mini comic. And I know because mine didn't work. My grandma had to take her back to Kmart on her lunch break to get one that worked. And my grandmother was displeased that, because she was in military. Well, at that point, she was still a secretary. It was before she became executive assistant before all the changes. So that was it. And then Castaspella and Glimmer hit at the same time, and the Bo mini comic changed. And then it was Frost to hit in the fall. And at that point, Double Trouble reshipped with her actual mini comic. And Cal technically was supposed to ship with Frost Wave, but he didn't start showing up until early 1986. The only reason
He was really late.
And the only reason
showed on the back of the card, but I never saw him ever. Like
when it even said, like released late 80, fall of 85 or whatever. The only reason I had Cal in 85 was we ordered them through the Sears catalog.
I love catalog shopping. Oh,
yeah. And then for Christmas, I got Enchanta and the Crystal Castle. So
I do remember like the lively debates, and I think this is sort of like universal for all boys, regardless of where you come from. But I mean, like my folks really did struggle with what to do about the whole She-Ra thing because they're like,
right,
it's He-Man, it's his sister, but we're not going down this doll thing. So like they were like, you can have She-Ra and you can have Bo, and we'll get your cowl for Easter. I remember specifically getting one for Easter. But they were like, here's the boys, but we're really uncomfortable on going forward past that. And I was like, I want them all.
And when that was the thing too, they were like, my parents were like, your brother can get Cal. Like he's the boy. Because I already had Bo. And it was a fight. Like literally, if I had not convinced my grandmother to order them from me from the Sears catalog, I would not have. My brother would have gotten Bo, and then would have gotten Cal, and I would have had to steal him back.
Yeah.
And that later I had to steal Peekaboo because when we found Perfuma and Peekaboo, I could only get one toy a week, and it was during back to school shopping as well in 1986. And this was right when the debate was, you're probably a little too old for toys. And
that was the other uncomfortable
I convinced my brother he wanted Peekaboo so that I could get them because I had not seen Peekaboo anywhere else. Hadn't seen Perfuma anywhere else, and I was convinced I wouldn't see them. So I convinced my brother to get Peekaboo, and then later traded a couple GoBots for Peekaboo because he started immediately when we were in the car and he was combing her hair. He started double guessing Peekaboo as his purchase for the week. But I got them both. So
I love this, like sort of like the whole kind of like the training of it all. We were like, this is what taught me to be a drug dealer.
Yeah,
like,
right.
All of this exercise is like precisely like
behind the scenes,
what led to crime
on the playground. Yeah, like I don't know. It was what it was. Like, because my parents did spoil us, but within reason. Like Christmas and birthdays and Easter were over the top, but it was like one toy a week, and like you could get, and it was like a $5 limit. So one toy, $5, or you could, which is why I had so many Strawberry Shortcake and like Care Bear minis because those were like $2. So I could get a couple of those, and then they upped they upped it to like $10 at one point when my dad started making a little bit better money. But that was, yeah, and that coincided with when I really started buying like 45s and cassette tape singles a lot. So
yeah, that was
which,
like there's no like hard and fast rule, but like my mother was probably more the collector than anybody. So like I remember her
yeah,
like literally like screaming at like McDonald's employees, being like, "Where's Gonzo from the Muppet Babies?" Things like she was
right.
like,
Oh
once she
my
got into
God.
her head, she was like, "This is happening." So
Yeah,
like,
I
I was kind
remember
of like just more along for the ride.
my mom wanted the Kermit so bad, and all we could ever find was Fozzie.
Yeah, Fuzzy was like overpacked, let's say. But yeah, no, mom was more like, "We're gonna complete this," and she really started this completionist methodology in
My
me.
mom was like that as well. Like, and like toward the end of Motu, by 87, my dad that was when he was making good money. And like that one, those last few waves of Motu, we went to KB Toy Store, which, if you remember, if it was a brand new toy, not cheap. We all have these great memories of, oh, KB Toys, it was so cheap, but not if it was brand new. And we went like right before Christmas in 1986. And they had like King Randor, they had Clamp Champ, and this was after she had we didn't know that Eternia was going to be a Christmas thing, but it was after they'd already ordered all of it, and like the Sorceress, all of that had hit, and sort of those last few 86 waves, like, which we hadn't seen. The Rockmen were there, so it was like, so my mom spent like almost $100 at KB to get like Hurricane Hordak, all of that stuff, like all of it. My dad wasn't happy, but like, screw it. As
I
my
also didn't
mom,
really know that like the line was on the decline. I mean, like Eternia really sort of was probably the peak, but like
yeah,
it just suddenly like kind of quietly died in the vine, and that's where we kind of learned some harsh lessons about.
yeah. Well, we had like Mosquito and Scareglow, like we had all of it because like it was all there at that time, and my mom was just. And then again, like we went and saw the Motu movie at the theater. I was very, and, we went right to the toy store afterwards because we're like, they're gonna have toys, and it's like they had Gweldor and a bunch of rock people.
Yeah, people you don't even want, like.
Yeah, I was like, where's the new Tila? Where's the new Evelyn? Why was She-Ra not in the movie? That was like, I was pissed. I was like, I sat through that. Tila looked weird. Since when is Tila a vegetarian? Like,
and also
that
like
was
in blue. And it wasn't even until years later I saw like Man at Arms, like his costume itself on his face is really quite nice. It's a great adaptation.
Yeah.
Then they just changed it to this like ugly blue gray color, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you had it, like you had it.
Right, Tila. I was just, like I don't know. There's just problems, and but I remember being really cheesed, and then we went to the toy store, and that was, they didn't even have Blade so we didn't have Blade or Sauron or Sarod or whatever his name was. Quasi, Snake, Lizard, Lord of the Rings, Sound, and Mofo. We did not have him because he wasn't at the store. It was just my brother got Gweldor, poor kid. I think that was when I'm gonna go look over here and like, oh, look at all these Star Wars figures, 3 for $1. I need the Imperial Dignitary. She's cool.
That old lady's cool.
She's really cool. Look at her dress. The Emperor's dead. This is the Empress. Literally. Some of my last Star Wars games were with the Imperial Dignitary as the Queen of the Empire. It was way more fun my way. Anyway, George Lucas. Oh, wait, he's not in charge. Disney. Call your girl.
Yep.
Hello, Todd. Welcome. Yeah, see, there you go. It's always good when you help each other out. And I did that. Like, a lot of the G.I. Joes, I would help my brother with G.I. Joe because I was not interested in much of them. Like, I wanted all the ladies. That 87 line, though, like Crystal Ball. I know people hate Crystal Ball, but oh my God, I loved Crystal Ball. He was Stephen King and Owen King created, Owen Hill now. Now that he's an author, not wanting to be a Nepo baby. He's Owen Hill.
It doesn't change anything.
Right. He's a he's a great writer though. So like, it's one of the times where it's like people are like, he's a nepo baby. It's like, shut up, it's good. It's not like he's writing Gabby Hanna level work. Like all you people who whine about nepo babies but bought anything from Gabby Hanna, shut up. Like somebody was talking about nepo babies, and then in the next breath they were like, this Michaela girl on TikTok, and I went and looked at the Michaela girl on TikTok, and I'm like, nope, give me a nepo baby. At least there's a promise of like, talent with the nepo baby.
Yeah, classically trained, we'll say.
Like I don't know. Like I find it weird when people are like, but yet if these kids did nothing but sat around and be rich, then they would be like, they're lazy. They should be out doing something. It's like, it's bad enough when your dad say like Alec Baldwin, that that's your dad. But then to call the kid a nepo baby because they're trying to do something, it's just like, you guys need to make up your mind.
Yeah, pick a lane.
Because they're here, like, and they're not going to go away. Like, they're not going to stop being alive. So do you want them just to like coast on the money and do nothing? Or do you want them to actually try stuff? And some, like Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter, Maya Hawke, like, people are like, she's a nepo baby. I'm like, I don't care. She's great. She's talented. She has charisma. She's got, what is it the kids say? She's got the riz.
The Riz. I don't know if they still say that, but
Probably not, because it finally got to me, so they probably have not said riz for a while, but whatever. And if you say it with a southern accent, it doesn't sound as ridiculous as
it's cool again.
It's cool. It's the riz, y'all. Get some riz and go get some crawdads down yonder over at Haps.
Master by the cotillion.
Where I grew up, for a while there was a fishing festival every year, and every year they would crown a master baiter. He was the best at baiting a hook. And then they stopped.
Tongue in cheek, or did they realize after?
I don't think they realized after the fact. I mean, I realized the first time I saw that on the news, even at like 10 or 11, because we grew up fast in the 80s. Thanks, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Porky's. Private school for girls. Porky's too.
Those are education, God.
Oh my God, I wanted to be Phoebe Cates so bad.
You still do.
Hey, Phoebe Cates this is a fun story, right? Phoebe Cates owns like a trendy little like boutique in Manhattan, like a trendy New York neighborhood. And what does she sell there? Whatever she wants. Do you need a scarf and like some art? Phoebe Cates has you covered. Do you want like some art? You want like the Caran d'Ache water soluble things I have? For a while she was selling them at her store. Do you want jewelry that's overpriced but gorgeous? Phoebe Cates has you. Oh, and while you're here, get this pin set. Like it's
like a bodega for really rich people.
It's like a like knickknack store, or just like it's just cool. Like I want to go to New York and go there. There's a snow globe there that's beautiful. It's been there for 10 years because it's beautiful art. It's like $75. I'm like, if I ever go to Manhattan, I'm gonna set $75 aside to go buy the snow globe at Phoebe Cates' store. Just so I can say I bought something from Phoebe Cates. She's one of the good ones.
That was me, and there was like, oh God, what was downstairs? There was a Domino action figure circa like 1994 from X-Force in the convenience store, and then there was the 2 packs of Madball's Valentine's Day cards, and like they've been there since 1985 or 86. Like it's
right?
You could tell by the plastic. You're like, this is old as time, but finally got it. Finally got it.
Well, now that we're sort of not in a like a major city, we're like in a small rural. We're in a small town, and we're in a like much smaller area. I haven't gotten to really properly explore the town or anything, or any of the other little towns around us. But there are a couple like little, like general, like card store, thrift shops, drugstores, and stuff, and that have been here for like generations, and I'm like, I'm gonna, like start.
Oh yeah.
Next time I
Like
have to run to the market or whatever, I'm gonna like pop into the little, like what's cool is our supermarket, the regional chain, which is a co-op. And they have a rack in it of used paperbacks that are reduced costs, where it's like you can buy used paperbacks at our groceries, which is very old style grocery store. So I don't know, it's
I
gonna
know
be
there's like
kind of
some
cool.
like old like antique shops, like sort of like in my home province, and they're
Yeah,
like off the highway and they're like middle of nowhere, and you have to know where to look for them kind of. But this is where you would find like rocket firing Boba Fett just casually
yeah,
dusty in a corner, kind of like they have no idea
no
what's in
idea.
there.
Somebody they got a couple boxes of stuff, and here's what's in this box of
They're
stuff.
like Action Comics #1. Like it's that kind of
That's
nonsense.
been there for 20 years. Have it for $1. Give us the money
Exactly.
gone. Yeah.
You're like, I
So
just might.
it'll be nice. Like it's still kind of cold and gross here. And, we still have some of the remodel construction stuff happening. So until all of that is done, I'm avoiding sort of, but, there will come a day in the next few months where it's like, it'll be, let's hit all the weird craft stores. And one of the things that did happen was in high school. It was like probably 10th or 11th grade. I got drugged to rural Texas with my grandparents for a family reunion with the shitty side of the family, and it's up in the Texas Panhandle. And we were in a
What?
one of their little thrift stores, like the local Woolworths, but not Woolworths because we're not on pay to use the name. And their toy department was full of, and this was like 91, full of like 1983 Masters of the Universe figures and just all these cool old toys. And I was just, at the time, it was right before I was like, I miss all of that. Be another year or two before. And it was because of Double Trouble that I got sort of slowly started creeping back in, because we were Christmas, we were back to school shopping in like Houston, me and a bunch of friends, and we were at Dillard's, and Dillard's was clearing out their toy department, and they had a bunch of random toys because Dillard's was expensive. And in the random, like get this stuff out of our face, there were a couple Double Troubles mint on card. So she's over there still. And everyone was kind of like, why are you buying that? And I'm like, it's cool, like from when we were kids. And I was saved by a friend that was with us who had a Barbie, she had a bunch of Barbies mint in box. And she was like, I've got all those Barbies, y'all, like, and they were like, oh, that's a good point. And they were scared enough of her. She's a Disney adult now, if that helps.
Explains
So,
a bit.
yeah, right. And she was always a Disney adult waiting to happen. But I recently looked at her Facebook to see what was up, and wouldn't you know it, they're planning a trip to Disney next summer. And they just got back from their Christmas trip. Just like
dear God, I was talking to someone. I was at a Chinese New Year party last night, and I was talking to someone who is like a Disney adult, and I'm like, I've been once.
yeah.
It was a lot, and like I went over Christmas, so like it was basically like a bunch of
Hello.
Canadian or a little bit, a bunch of Canadians going down to like Christmas time, like Disney World,
Yeah.
so that like there was no line. So I remember going to like Blizzard Bay, and like not a single person was there like in line. So like we had full free reign, but like on the busier days, I'm like, I'm good. Like I never have to come back here again. It was awful.
We used to, when we were in Louisiana, we would drive over to Houston to go to Astro World, which is not there anymore, which is sad. It'd always be packed, and I hated the lines. And then we went one year right at the like right in September, because where we were there was a hurricane, so we had to evacuate. And we instead of it wasn't a huge hurricane. It wasn't like we could have stayed much closer than we did, but my mom was just like, let's go shopping, because my dad was making, this was during the good money phase. So we went to Houston and we ate at Steak and Ale, which was very expensive. ish, right? It's kind of like Red Lobster expensive. But despite, like we're like nouveau white trash rich, right? At this stage. And, so
Yeah.
spending that much money at Steak and Ale was like a big deal. And then we went to Astroworld because it's like we've got a couple of days. And there was nobody else there. It was like the end of season, and it was like the rides were all like the lines were short, and like it was just fun. It was so nice to like not have to wait in lines. There weren't a bunch of screaming kids. No offense to
Mhm.
screaming kids, but I can't stand screaming kids.
Some
Um,
offense.
I don't mind if well behaved, and like I'm not that person. Like kids must be well behaved. It's like I get kids don't behave. I just don't need to be around it when it hurts my. As I get older, everyone's like, there are those sounds you can't hear anymore as you get older. It's like as I get older, the sound of a child screaming gets louder.
Yeah, it's somehow more worse. Fun
It's
fact.
like the Black Canary sonic cry the older I get when a child starts screaming. I turn into Veronica Cartwright from the end of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, stop it. Stop. So yeah, anyway. Sorry to all the kids. But those specific ones, there are a lot of, some of my best friends have kids. Wait, that sounds wrong. Anyway, hello, Kenza. Hello, titular heroine. I got it that time. Hooray. You just have to say it all really fast. Like whenever I would have to say, oh, I can't even remember her name now, but there was like a teacher whose name was like a lot of consonants. Oh
Was
my
it
God,
Constance?
what was her name? It was a professor in college, and like I could never get it right. And she knew her name was hard. She insisted we addressed her as Professor. I almost just said Chipotle, and it's like it definitely was not Chipotle, but it had a lot of C's and P. She was Russian though, so they don't have a lot of vowels in general.
No, it's all kind of like mashed together anyway. So you're like, it's a
Yeah, it was just like,
crapshoot.
And it's like there was this meme going around for a while that I found hilarious, and it was Russian Wheel of Fortune, and it's like a bunch of characters, and like,
Mhm.
and the meme, the bottom was like, "Can I buy a backwards E? Oh, sorry, there are no more E's. No, there are no more
Maybe like
vowels." And it was like,
a P with a hat on it, and you're like,
yeah,
why?
right.
Why?
It felt relatable. And so, yeah, but I don't. I also wonder if it's a thing where it's like that's just how it looks when it's westernized, and like for instance when Arabic languages are westernized, they spell them out, but they're actually like in like symbols and stuff. So I often wonder, and the same with like a lot of Asian languages. So I wonder if with Russian, if perhaps that's part of it, is that it's lost, it's being translated in a literal way for us over here, where it's like that's not actually what it would look like.
Yeah, I do. There's a video that just came on, like I kind of noticed this morning, from Comic Drake, where he does. Um, it's a video on what like Eastern, like basically like what Japanese audiences think of Western comics, and I was like,
Yeah,
I gotta watch this because like
yeah,
it's part of the the fallacy of like, especially I think especially Sailor Moon, like less so Robotech or like Gundam stuff, but certainly Sailor Moon. I mean, like in my Western brain, I was like, those are white girls because she's blonde, but also
hmm,
that other chick has blue hair, and that's weird. But then at the
yeah,
same time, I'm like, why are these white girls? Like, I understand where it's set. I understand like where this is from. Like, why are they
yeah,
white girls? And so like, there's this weird like
exactly.
inner model. I'm like, what? And then it took me around. Like, I'm like, no, they're all like, unless they're like explicitly white, everyone's Japanese, and you're like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
exactly,
certainly
exactly.
curious
Yeah,
about.
that would confuse me as well. And then I sort of, well, I had a friend who was really into Sailor Moon back, back when she was having to buy fan dubs of the original Japanese episodes, and her dealer wasn't, like we can call it, because she spent a lot of, and the and like it was for the kids before the streaming, if you wanted something that wasn't released in the US, like you had to spend a lot of money to get good quality.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in Canada that was her dealer and also did them and would buy them directly from Japan, and then like copy them and then go through and painstakingly put subtitles in for the so that everything was accurate, and not only just but if it was something that's like a regional speech pattern, like certain sayings here in the
Oh, they
Western
go
world.
hard, like
Yeah,
yeah,
like if we say something like "I'm so hungry I could eat a horse," if you translate that literally, people in Japan might be horrified, right?
yeah.
They're
They're
like,
like, you're gonna what
"What?
now?
You're eating a what?" And so,
Mhm.
like this person who would do those dubs understood sort of if I remember the story that my friend told me, that they had lived in Japan for many years, so they sort of understood, um, like colloquialisms. I almost said that one right too. It's like good morning.
You're so
Um,
close. Oh
I
god,
yeah. But so
I'm
did
just
all the
crushing it.
translations and went in and put the subtitles, made lovely covers, had those really nice thick like blockbuster cases with like inserts, and like everything was painstaking. She spent a lot of money. And of course now it's all over. But it's because of those people that we got all of that over there, because suddenly the companies were like, wait, there's a market for it.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember like we had a like kind of a general like, and this is like rural Nova Scotia. There was like a general store, gas station, yada yada, like en route to the town. Um, and they had like a small little corner for videos kind of thing. And like the guy who
mhm,
ran the gas station basically, like he would bring in like all this anime, but it was like,
yeah,
and it was dubbed, but like it was like straight out of Japan. So like it's a thing
right.
where the folks were like, man, it's a cartoon, go see it. And that's where I was like, that's a lot of boobs. Like there's a lot
Yeah,
of boobs. And I'm like 5. Like it was that thing where like even my brother was like, we can never tell them about this.
right. They
Kids
must
just are
not know.
no.
Yeah. So so that was when, but she broke it down like they're all Asian. I'm like, but she's really blonde. And like, she's like, no, that's just
That's
to
just a
them.
choice.
She's not blonde. She has yellow hair, just like this one has green hair and this one has blue hair. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was
I
like,
mean, this
okay, it
thing like
makes
Sailor
sense
Moon
now.
is like wildly all over the place. So it's like it doesn't matter if Sailor Moon's blonde. Such like I mean, I've been blonde many times, and it's
Yeah,
not a
right.
great look, but I've done it.
Agreed. Yeah, I was about to say something. No, that's not a face to face with the internet.
Do it. Do it.
No, I will
No
not.
one's listening. Come on, just say it.
I will
I
tell
have
you
covered
after the stream. I will
exactly.
tell you after the
Um,
stream.
God, my dog just came by and he's like, "I want pets," and now there's dog hair
I will say though,
everywhere.
the last time I tried to go blonde, I was at my very heaviest. I was like at like 400 pounds. Probably was not, like when your face is like super big and super pink, and you look kind of like, like my nose isn't, but like Miss Piggy and I, sisters for a while there.
God.
Blonde was not a great look when you're that pink. And there's no amount of blush. I mean, like it just looked like I was trying to do bad Queen Amidala cosplay if I would try to like, foundation my way out of that situation. So, um, know your limitations. But God, that was not long ago enough. But yeah, that was the thing that happened. I did get that big. And ironically, it was when I was eating the healthiest of my life. I was clean eating at the time. So
Clean eating.
anyway, if
Um,
anyone tells you clean eating is the secret to skinniness, no. It's just a different form of disordered eating. So eat what you like, watch the calories, and exercise.
well, I mean, that's it. I mean, like any decent doctor I've ever been to, they're like more of this, less of this, and you're like,
Well,
oh,
what I would always get caught up in is, people like, oh, well, like hormones, and I have a thyroid disorder, which makes
what
it
is the
harder.
thyroid?
But with medication, the thyroid's fine, but people would be like, well, because of your thyroid, you have to do like the carnivore diet. And the doctor was just like, then the nutritionist as well, like both of them in tandem were like, it's going to be harder because you have this extra thing, but it's not impossible. And not eating properly is actually going to be worse for you long term. So just eat well, because if you're not eating enough food, then you get sick. And there's no such thing as starvation. People are like, well, if you starve, you'll gain weight too. It's like, that's not how it works.
It's just, I mean, there's all this industries around trying to make a buck off of it and tell you like this is the thing that'll make you skinny, and you're like, well, we've been trying this for 40, 50,
Stop
60
eating
years,
all
and
these
it's not
poisonous, toxinous, like I had somebody tell me one time, like, you're eating cereal, it's full of chemicals and it's bad for you. And it's like, I'm like, look,
sure.
bestie, I have 3 times a week, I have Captain Crunch with Crunch, well, the store brand, because the real stuff is too expensive and I'm cheap. Unless it's vintage toys, then like whatever. And that seems incredibly reasonable. $6 for a box of cereal. Fuck that. Give me the $3 store brand bitch. But but yeah, like I have cereal a couple times a week. I've gained a few pounds back because the moving and the stress of it. There have been many days where I'm like, I am just eating pizza rolls for dinner. Pizza rolls and more pizza rolls. I need this. But whatever. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the gays kind of figured out, like, look, if you just want to be like have a great body, steroids. Like it's just that simple. Like, anabolic steroids.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yep. And I mean it works. I'm not gonna lie. Like, but the side effects are probably a little
bit, yeah.
extreme.
You don't want to turn into a steroid rager.
I'm already precariously too close to that without. So.
Yeah, I don't have to take substances to be angry.
No. Like quite the opposite.
Somebody asked me one time, were you born angry? And I'm like, I was, yes.
Yep.
And then they kind of blinked because they were like they thought they were doing something there, and it did not go the way they expected. And my recommendation in life, anytime you can make something not go the way that somebody's trying to be, when they're trying to be an asshole to you, the way they're expecting, do it. And I think that's why your mama jokes work so well. It's like someone tries to insult you and you're like, your mom.
Just shuts it down immediately.
And then like, your mom is dead. I'm like, that makes it worse.
Also, Thanos, I need you to send pictures of blonde silken hair Thanos.
Catching up on chat. Oh my God, Special K red berries. That is my Monday morning cereal, Todd. I love some red berries. Should have that for lunch today. Let me rephrase. Store brand Special K red berries, unless it's on sale. Sometimes they'll put red berries on sale too for $5, and then I'm in. But otherwise, stress, cortisone. That all helps. Well, no,
yep.
Exactly.
It's funny how I don't like fruit. Like I like strawberries or like I don't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like whatever they put into food is like Pop-Tarts. They're like, it's strawberry. I'm like, I know it's not, so I just want that.
I had Pop-Tarts for breakfast this morning. My entire diet right here. Pop-Tarts and cereal.
I love exactly. But I did like a video yesterday about Lex from Jurassic Park, and like the Jello conversation that erupted out of that has been pretty extreme. And I'm like, but like people aren't saying they're like, this is lime, this is grape, this is cherry. They're like red, green, purple. Like there's no delusion about what it is. Like this is what purple tastes like. Mm-hmm. They might try to sell it as grape, but like that's just purple, and I like purple. I don't like grapes.
Yeah, the only Jello, in my opinion, is not, and I eat a lot of Jello because it is a low-fat, low-calorie snack. Literally, like I make too much, but I also will make it and then cover it with Cool Whip, so whatever. But Cool Whip is also low-fat, low-calorie, and people are like, but the chemicals, I'm like, and they taste so delicious. Anyway, also though, if you're gonna lecture me about chemicals, make sure you're not a drunk. Because if you drink a bottle of wine, I'm way more concerned about the chemicals you're putting in your body, Becky. Anyway, back to the Jello.
Mhm.
In my opinion, the only Jello that actually tastes sort of like as advertised is the lemon.
Yes, although
The
no one would
rest
ever
of them, not so
buy
much.
it. It's got that lemon meringue kind of thing
Mm.
happening where it's like it's
Yeah,
just like
it's not. It
harsh.
doesn't
Like
taste like lemons, but it has a lemon flavor.
yeah, it's
And I
pretending to be fruit.
yeah I can't I can't have anything that's like grape soda, grape Kool-Aid, because it's not actually. It doesn't. That's not an actual to me grape flavor.
No,
Um,
but I
if I
like
went,
purple. Like it's like I mean it's like Kool-Aid. I'm like I just want the purple one. I
yeah,
know what I'm getting. I know it's not grape. I don't care.
yeah, I
Like
don't
I just
like
want purple.
fake, fake grape gum. Like none of it to me tastes like grapes. Like if I want to eat grapes, I'll have raisins.
Although there is that sort of like that kind of theory of like bananas where like they did. I mean this is probably like before we were even born, but bananas did have like a much different taste
Hmm.
many moons ago, kind of thing. So it's like grapes. Maybe grapes did taste like that. Who knows?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that's a good point because it does sort of, especially as like they're commercially grown, and like for instance, most of the bananas we eat are not.
Or like
Like
they're
we're
clones
not
of each
eating
other. Like it's
bananas.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're processed within an inch of their life, even though it's like natural.
Well, also like the soil is going to contribute, and none of like it's not. Thank God, but like none of there isn't a place as far as I know in America that actually can grow bananas commercially. So they're all sort of
Seven.
imported. So it's going to depend on the wherever those bananas come from. It's going to what is their soil composition like. The air quality is going to make a difference because plants need air.
What?
The water, like what sort of nutrients and minerals are in the water. So like all of that contributes. So maybe once upon a time that's how grapes actually tasted. And if so, I'm glad they don't taste like that anymore because I don't like that
Yeah.
flavor.
I mean, I don't know. It's sort of like it's. I mean, it's the Gen X of it all. But I mean, like I do kind of like the chemical flavor of things.
Oh, I do as well, but it's just not the fake grape, not fake orange either. But I also, like growing up close to Florida, we had sort of Florida oranges, and it's just a
Fair.
really just, I don't even like that chocolate orange shit. Everyone's like, it's so good. It's like, no, it's not. I'm glad you love
No.
it and you buy it, so I don't have to.
I also do love when people sort of like have the chemical argument. They're like, well, the chemicals, and it's like it's usually. I mean, in my orbit, it's always like these gays who did GHB all weekend, and then they're like, my life's in shambles. It must be the moon, and you're like. Of all the choices you make in your life,
Yeah,
of all the chemicals you put in your body, the moon is where
I think
that's where the problem
yeah,
stems
and
from.
that's part of I think too. Like the one of the last people who really tried to lecture me about all of that. I'm like, well, you're still in your kid's Adderall still, right? She shut up
How's that
real
going for you?
quick. And I was like, oh, we're not
It's
talking
delicious.
about why little Timmy's ADHD is. Well, it's just attention. It's not ADHD for kids, but whatever the kid version of that is. It's like maybe he would be doing better in school if he stopped stealing his Adderall, Karen. It's not actually her name, but she's probably gonna
The attention's there.
unsubscribe because I do know she watches the channel. But whatever.
Oh, she's been called out. What is
Oh,
the
it's not making me skinny.
no?
She got rolled. She's like, yeah,
I'm having
exactly.
I think the worst time with
See,
pencil
we need to
sharpeners
see that
today.
as well, Kenzo. Kenzo pictures, or it didn't happen.
Mhm.
Green and blue. Blue. My favorite Gatorade is the red. I don't like the like the clear one that looks like melted like Hall's. That one
Yeah,
tastes like sweat. I'm sorry, that one tastes like sweat. But if you like the milky one, whatever that
it was kind
like,
of like all the rage. I mean, like the Pepsi Clear of it all, where you're like, who? Who was this for exactly?
Well, they brought Pepsi Clear back a few years back here in America. And at the time, Matt was working at his family's market. So he brought one home for me. Cats are trying to get in. They're like not happy about the closed door. But anyway, he brought the Pepsi Clear home, and I was just like, ugh. But then it was like the last
You're
time
like,
I
give it to
had one of
me.
these, it was like 1992, and I was like 18 or whatever, and like my palate has changed.
Yeah,
because I
that's a
didn't,
very real thing.
So I was like, well, let me just see. Maybe I judged Clear Pepsi too hard. Oh God, no. I was on point. My taste buds have not changed enough that I could swallow an entire bottle of Crystal Pepsi. It was just like, yeah.
I don't know if you guys had this as well. There was something called Orbits, and it was probably like early 90s. And it was almost like, I wouldn't say tapioca. It was kind of like, it was almost like boba tea now, where it's like these little tiny balls of something in this clear liquid. And it was like, I mean, just disgusting. But like,
one of them was like bright, like crimsony red.
yeah, like they were like,
Okay,
it
yeah, I
was
remember
neon colors. Yeah, like they were, it was awful. But I mean, it's a thing where it's like, it's cool, it's new, it's hip. And, you know, we all kind of drank it, but it was horrible.
Yeah, I did not
Horrible
drink
shit.
it. I can't drink like, boba tea or bubble tea or anything like that because the texture of it
Yeah, it's gross.
in a beverage. If you give me tapioca pudding, we're good. But for whatever reason, trying to drink it as a tea, the texture of it, it always feels like, and I apologize to anyone who enjoys it because this is not me trying to like gross you out. But to me, it's like when you cough up a phlegm grabber, but you accidentally swallow it before you can spit it out.
I thought this was going in a whole different direction, and sure, yeah.
Yeah, there are many things that this could relate to. I'm just using one that's appropriate for before
I don't come here for
finish
appropriate,
my
okay?
first coffee of the day, right?
The end of this day.
It's a weird chunky trying to drink it. I can eat tapioca. Like if you put bubble tea in a bowl and called it a pudding, I would probably be fine because I'm expecting. But no matter how many times I try it, the texture just throws me every time. So congratulations to everyone that like enjoy that. Like I wish for some of us, they're just some textures like eggplant. People are like eggplant is divine. It's like the texture of eggplant, no matter how you cook it, gets me every time. There's something foul. As I've said many times, Satan's proctologist uses eggplant to open them up. So
Yikes.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Right. I'm trying, yeah. I like palm. Like I like palm a lot. It's pretty good. I will dilute it though. There you go. Let's see. Oh, I'm in fruits again.
Oh, you did? Yep.
Yeah. You have to, and it keeps freezing like when I look away. It's like the camera is mad. All right. Sorry for the angle, y'all. Any minute now.
I was going to do some status update. I'm trying to add color to this thing, but we'll see how it goes. Exactly like Thanos. No one came here for appropriate, and I certainly did not. Oh, and I think we lost Allison completely.
There we go. And
God damn
back.
it. We'll do it live.
We're back. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it could have just, like I said, I have to hook up the new computer this week. And this weekend, I just haven't had time because, all the work stuff is on here. There's like transferring of files and all the things. So, anyway, we're back. Yeah.
Madonna will sing a song about it.
Right. That she ruined. Like, I like this, like, I'm not somebody who hates on Madonna, but that was not one of her better covers.
No, there's better songs out there than that one.
And that one didn't, in my opinion, that one didn't even really fit the movie that they stuck it in. It just felt really like an odd choice overall.
What was that on?
It was that movie with her and Rupert, or is it Rupert Everett from My Best Friend's Wedding, where it's like he's her gay bestie and they decide to have a baby together and they both grow and learn along the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the baby was really the friendships they made along the way.
Pretty much. And yeah, it was like big screen adaptation of Will and Grace without any of the good parts. I mean, not that Will and Grace was always great.
Yeah, I never actually watched it, so I know I'm like a terrible person, but I'm like, I have no interest in it.
The best part of Will and Grace was Jack and Karen. That should have always been the show, was Jack and Karen.
I just feel like Jack annoyed me and Karen's like a little too close to home for me, so I'm like, as the local drunk, I'm like, ugh, this is a harsh mirror.
I think that was what it was. Karen, like, at the time that came out, Jack was very much like my bestie that I was running around with, and I was very much Karen. There's even an episode where they go to a bookstore and she's like rooting around behind the shelves, and Will is like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Looking for my bottle." He's like, "This isn't your house. We're in a random store." And then she pulls a bottle out. She's like, "There it is." And I was like, "That's pretty relatable." I mean, not that I would hide booze at stores, but in my backpack, I used to always have a flask of vanilla vodka.
Oof, that takes me back.
When you need a quick shot in the bathroom so you can make it through the rest of your day and drugs are illegal.
I want vodka to come back in like every flavor. That was a time to be alive.
That was sort of a golden age, frankly, of the Western world, where we had every week there was a new flavor.
Yep. And it was like, they were crazy. They're like, watermelon pepper. And you're like, sure, like, give it to me.
Whipped cream. It started like vanilla whipped cream. And then it's like birthday. As soon as I did birthday cake, I'm like, I'm in. Birthday cake is the quickest way.
They turned into like ASMR like playlists where they're like, it's your, the day after your grandfather's funeral, sipping this by the fireplace. And you're like, what flavor is that?
Right. It's how it tastes like nostalgia and sadness, but also crisp winterness with a little bit of smokiness.
Yeah, some sorrow in there too, and you're like, sure, like tell me whatever you got.
Somebody on Threads the other day was like, my favorite drink in the club used to be Zima with like 5 cherry Jolly Ranchers in it, and I was like, oh my god, like yes, I remember that drink.
Yeah, I remember drinking it. I don't remember much else about it.
That was a good drink though, and like how the Zima would slowly turn red through the night as the.
The other thing is like I remember like around that time too, like it would have been like Jager bombs, but also like the vodka Red Bulls, and it's like I think back, I'm like we were crazy. Like it's like I mean, thank God we were like young and stupid, but like that's a heart attack. Like a lot of uppers and a lot of downers all at the same time.
Right.
And I mean the fact that I didn't just drop dead is like a real testament to my liver.
It's like, here's a Red Bull and vodka. Let's go to a party at what's his name? Phil Spector's house.
Honest to God.
You're really trying to die tonight, aren't you? Maybe. Wait, we got to stop real quick. OJ still has my glove. Oh, the 90s and the early 2000s.
The early aughts, which I hate that word, but I've come to accept it.
Yeah, we got to call it something.
It was something.
Call it.
The Paris Hilton age.
Yeah, calling it the zeros feels really odd. So.
What a strange movie to be reminiscing on.
All right. Remember
the Rupert Everett jam? Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, there was that fun era though where they were trying to make Rupert Everett happen. Like, you were talking about doing a gay James Bond with him in it. And
Oh, that's right.
that
I'd
never
watch the hell
happened.
of that. I mean,
I
that's just
mean,
like, I mean, I've seen that pornography like many, many times. So I'm like, I don't really need a full production. Like, it's fine.
yeah, it was a weird time. Oh, the 90s. But yeah,
Yeah, I think
here
it's
we
like he
are.
was big on my best friend's wedding, and everyone's like movie star, and you're like, well, not exactly. Good guest star.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. Like, it was one trying to make fetch happen, but
Hmm.
I think and like I remember reading an article and people were like, he's like the next George, he's like the gay George Clooney, and I'm like, there is only one George Clooney beeps,
Yeah.
and probably for 5 or 6 drinks he could be the gay George Clooney. It was the 90s beeps. Everything was a little bit heteroflexible back then. Um, but I just never got that vibe from him. Like he just uh, Rupert Everett just never was that. I didn't find he was debonair in a way that like English people are just debonair. It's like we've already got Hugh Grant and he can be gay. Like we're good. We don't need.
Yeah, we don't need to like lay it on that thick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he appealed to a certain audience, and I'm happy for them that they had that. But for the rest of us, we're just like, oh, this is
It's
not.
kind of like nowadays. There's like oh god, what's his name? Um, he was in trouble. Matt Bomer. He's someone
Oh
who's like
yeah,
just like very, very outrageously blandly handsome. Like you're
yeah,
just like really handsome, but like
yeah,
I don't know if either too handsome or just too like there's something not quite there. But it's very much that kind of like
yeah.
frame of
I think
mind where you're
part
like,
of
yeah,
what it is. It's
you should be a movie star, but like there's something vacant happening here.
well, I think it's kind of this. My other 80s babies don't get mad for what I'm about to say, but
Mhm.
Morgan Fairchild. She is a lovely human being. She's been in some great
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
They, she, like she's been in things, but she just never hit big, right? And they were always trying to make her hit big, and she never did. And it's just because there was something lacking there. It's like she's gorgeous, um, especially in the 80s. She was very 80s hot, but there just
Yep.
wasn't there. It was just correct. She was lacking the riz, as the kids would say.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's and the thing is like almost like Angeline, like you would swear she was actually popular or actually like
mhm,
in things, but like in fact, no. Like
no,
it's just there was hype. There's a lot of hype, but no actual substance.
yeah, and it's like I don't, and it's like you feel bad because Morgan Fairchild is a really good, like a lot of her political activism has been really good over the years. You know, she's just a good person, but it's like her career never took off. Even and like people have always acted like she's a bigger star than she actually is. But any attempt to give her a show or put her in sort of anything just never quite works because she's just lacking some piece. And it's sort of like that with Matt Balmer. He's gorgeous. He's a average actor, but he's just there's some component that's not there.
There is a weird it factor because I mean, like again, like don't hang me for this, but like to me, Moore is not a good actress and never has been.
Mhm.
And like I
Yeah,
liked the substance quite a bit, but again, like that does not necessarily make her a good actress. But she
right.
does have that it factor. She does have a draw to her
There's
that like
something
it's intangible.
watchable. There's something watchable
Yeah.
about Demi Moore. Even you don't have to. I went and saw Striptease opening night. I went and saw G.I.
Opening
Jane
night.
opening night. Oh yeah, me and my roommate Jenny, we went to see Striptease. Especially no, it wasn't. It was G.I. Jane. We went and saw opening night. I went with my friend Holly opening night. Hi Holly. She watches sometimes. Um, but we both had like we would watch. We worked at Blockbuster together. She and I would go to her house, and she comes from a very traditional Vietnamese family, but she was born and raised here in America. So, and and she's about my age, so like But we would go to her house and we would watch Carrie, and then we would quote, like, they're gonna see my dirty pillows, mama. And we would watch 16 Candles over and over, but we would quote the drunk girls at the party, Jamie Gertz. And, like, don't go anywhere, Carolyn, baby. There's that one part, like, right when they introduced the two characters, and the one's like, what? I don't do that. And Jamie Gertz does, like, yes, you do. And the other one's like, I know. And that was who we always said we would be at, and that's who we kind of were when we would go to parties.
Like someday.
That'll be snarky side chicks who are just like in the background having a blast, sort of making fun of everybody else, and but yeah. So anyway. Yeah, exactly. Hoover's out on a mission delivering packages and randomly thinking about old Madonna, Rupert Everett movies that didn't do anything for either of their careers and ruined the American Pie song for most of us.
But Hoover's like, how can I monetize this?
This week on a very special episode of Yesterday. Yeah. No. Good old Hoove. Funny, somebody the other day was like, don't you have a Patreon yet? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, but everyone has one. I'm like, shut up. Leave me alone.
I feel like that's part of the thing. It's like everyone's got one. And then it becomes sort of like a bit of a pissing match. I'm like, well, how many do you have? Like it's
like I've thought about it for sure, but it's like you actually need to offer some content and exclusive content. Like obviously I make a lot of content. Like, don't let me like there's just like what else could I offer the people who like and watch me? Like I'm giving them what they want already.
Are you not entertained?
Well, it's just like I would, like what else? And I've asked people, like sort of because YouTube has been really aggressive since I hit 1,000 subs that I need to start a channel membership. I think I even asked you, like, if I did that, and it's like what everyone, like tells me, it's like I kind of already do all of that. But when I feel like doing all of that, so it's like if I'm having to do it as part of like membership, people pay for it, turns into a obligation, because I want people to actually get what they're paying for. I've been on.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is a lot of work, and I'm still in this lucky phase where like I still enjoy it. And there is an endpoint for me too. Like I'm doing sort of like history lessons, but I'm also like, there is a logical endpoint to this. At some point I'm gonna be like, that's enough. And I can sort of either pivot or take a long break. But I mean, at the same time, like to do Patreon, to do memberships, to do like, this is like a lot more work. Like, because you're appealing to different tiers as well. And it's just like, that's a full-time job. And if you have a staff, if you have millions of views, that's one thing. But like to actually, and even the people, like, I mean, there's Eckhart's Ladder did a video the other day about how he's divested into like several different channels, and he actually does have a staff, but he's like, I can't even do a Patreon because I have all these things already on my plate, and I'm not even editing any of it.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I definitely, like, would like to offer extra stuff. I don't know. I'm also sort of, like I have a 5-year plan for this channel. I mean, and it doesn't mean the channel is over in 5 years. That means I've sort of plotted out content for 5 years. So maybe as I'm getting to the end of, we're about to hit the end of year 2. So year 3 starts in July. So, maybe once I'm halfway through year 3, I'll have some, or maybe I'll just be like, I'm tired of making this kind of video. And if you want me, maybe throw that, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
That's the thing too. Like YouTube really does like you to do the exact same thing every time.
Yeah.
Like, they really like the predictability of it coming. And that's the thing. I sort of thought about switching some things up at this late stage myself, and I'm
No.
like, why bother? Like, don't bother. At
Yeah,
this
I mean
point,
that's
it's
the
like,
thing. Like, yeah, YouTube pushes some of my videos harder than others, and I had to make peace with that a couple months back, where I was like, oh my
yeah.
god. So yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but
That's another thing too. Like, it kind of depends on the S. I hate to get into like analytics kind of thing, but like the SEO of it all, where it's like,
yeah,
I post something about, I've done 2 videos on cops, like cops and crooks. It does well on Instagram. There's
yeah,
a lot of engagement there. There's a lot of conversation. People being like, I love this. Like, I love cops. This is great. But when you like hashtag it or whatever, like through YouTube, it's like you can't find it. And likewise, I'm sort
yeah,
of grappling with that right now, where I'm doing V from 1983, 84.
yeah,
And the SEO on the letter V is not great. So you're going to get like V for Vendetta or Agent
right,
V or whatever. Like you're going to get like anything but that. I mean, that show's not big enough on its own to support, that kind of search engine sort of thing. So it's going to be like a lot of like fooling the algorithm with like every
yeah,
hashtag
exactly,
imaginable.
right, yeah. I don't know. And I sometimes, like, because YouTube, like, once a week, I get an email at this point from YouTube, like, you should join our channel membership boot camp so you can learn how to do, like, they're
Oh
really,
god.
because obviously they make money from it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So, but you also I sometimes wonder, it's like, would they push videos harder if I open membership, like, because then they can make more money off showing people the content. So I don't know. It's weird. It's that weird. I'm in that weird place where it's like I didn't have to really think about any of it before, and now I do. So
Yeah, they're really pushing it too, which makes it all the more like kind of weird. What do you want?
yeah, I mean, and I get it. Again, they make more money if and the longer people stay on the platform. And one of the emails had all of this, like it shows people if you have memberships, they'll watch your stuff longer. It's like, well,
Will they? Like, I don't care because I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't
yeah,
care like who has what. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah. So I don't know. It's weird how pushy they've been for a couple. Like I hit the point like back in, I think, when did that Beetlejuice video hit? Like September, when I did the Beetlejuice
yeah,
short. That's when I hit 1,000. And it was like, oh, you can do, I turned on like the super chat and the super thanks and all that, because that, like that just is people like, like that's, you have to recognize the chat, and my chat is manageable, so like it's very, was like, yeah, we can do that, that's fine. It's a little bit, it's a little bit of money, not a lot. And I don't say that like, it's just, like it's every little bit helps when you're doing this. I don't know, the channel membership thing just, it feels like it's a lot more work somehow. And like, and one of the people who I chatted with, I'm not going to name them, suggested that I should just take some of my content that's low performing and put that behind sort of the paywall. And I'm just like, but what if it's low performing to the masses, but if like 5 of my subscribers, that's the only thing they like watching, I don't want them to have to pay to see the one thing they like the most. So I don't know, I'll figure it out. And then somebody was like, just do another free members only live stream. Like, fuck. like yeah,
I gotta do more live streams.
Yeah, it's like I do a live stream every Sunday and then every other Friday. Like, even if I don't have a guest, I'm still here. I mean, that's been a bit sporadic the last few months with the move, but now that things are settling, like there should be live streams every Sunday and every other Friday. So, but yeah, just the thought of adding another live stream, I was like, that's a terrible idea. Shut up. Especially because Especially with the occasional retro cavalcade thrown in there. It's like, y'all, that's a lot of time to be on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You have to film stuff at some point for videos, guys.
And then also, like, you know, have a sparkling personality. But like, 'cause, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I've banked enough now where I'm comfortable
Yeah.
not rushing to do the next thing. But I mean, like, at the same time, like the one I did just this morning, finally, while wildly hungover, like waking up being like, today's the day. Like, today's the day I'm gonna do this. But I mean, like, it's tough. I mean, like, I always do the little joke at the beginning. I mean, it was a very complex one, and I must have done it like 5 times, and I'm just like, good enough. Just this is the best you're gonna get for free. I'm sorry.
This is it, right? Sparkle, Neely, sparkle.
This is the best I can muster today. So
Right, you get what you pay for, but and that's kind of the other thing. It's like once you have memberships that people are paying, like, so I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually.
that's the thing too. Like, I don't really script mine. So like, if suddenly like there is that extra like incentive where they're like, oh, I expect a certain professionalism here, and I'm like,
Yeah,
not on this channel, man. Like, no,
that's not what we're
you can see my
about.
stream of conscious in real time. Like, sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm about 50. You know, like if it's a flip through or whatever that I'm filming. Well, one, you're lucky if you get anything other than like, hi, we're flipping through this book today. Now cue the music.
Mhm.
That stuff I tend not to script. Obviously the toy history stuff is scripted. Villain Obscura stuff, history profile, that stuff is super scripted. That's why that stuff takes me forever. Is like, got to get the script. And then,
Yep.
as Carrie Fisher used to tell George Lucas, George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it. And it's like, there's a lot of stuff that are in my original scripts that, like, oh my gosh, if this was a written piece, it'd be perfect. But the second I have to read it, I'm like, we don't need this whole paragraph about this.
Yeah, get something a little more editing. Once you're like, oh, I actually have to like.
Simon Schuster, shoestring budget. It's like, nope, we're out. Nope. Nobody cares.
Nope. No thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, I'm working on the Villain Obscura for Selena from the Supergirl movie, and I cut an entire block of Faye Dunaway history because I'm like, oh my god, no. I just couldn't get any of the dialogue to work. I mean dialogue, i.e. me reading into a microphone and not sounding completely like I'm reading into a microphone.
Yeah. I'll find that too. I mean, like, I've sort of come far enough now where like I'm sort of doing sequel, if not more, videos. So like if it's like Transformers or He-Man, I'm like, I'm not doing a history again. Like, do your own homework. Yeah. But then I also did Ring Raiders recently, which I hated, and I think I screamed at you and Derek about it. I was like, I hate this so much.
Did that drop yet? And I block it out?
No, I think it's not next week. It might be the week after. But it was like, even editing it, I'm like, I hate this thing so hard. But like, no one knows what that is. So like, I really did have to like,
yeah, I didn't know what it was.
Spell it out.
I was like, what is this?
Like, what now?
Like, I've not heard of this. And I'm the researcher for the Toy Geeks podcast. No, just kidding.
Y'all know who I am.
Well, it's funny because I do that, right? I do that now, right, guys? Anyway, go watch Toy Geeks podcast. It's on YouTube now. But what's funny about that is people will now slide into my DMs to ask me questions. I'm like, I'm not researching that this week, kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, possibly. And then I'm like, but the problem with that is because of how my brain works. It's like, now I'm interested. I'm invested. So let me go find that answer for you.
I had that problem early on. And I think it's funny. I think like Brian from Nacelle kind of talked about the same thing, where it's like once you start doing toy histories on toy lines that you never had or had no real interest in, suddenly you're like, I kind of want to buy it. So I've got all these like, thankfully small lines like Earthworm Jim or Toxic Crusaders or whatever. But like as soon as I started getting into like the minutia of it all, I'm like, I want it. And that's a tricky game when you're already kind of like limited on space.
Yeah. Well, that's what's been hard about the endless months of G.I. Joe on Toy Geeks is like, I'm like, oh my god, what is this? This is amazing. I need this. It's like, no, You don't.
Nope,
You do
nope.
not
Put
need
it
a
down.
vintage
Put it
G.I.
down.
Joe mint. You know, like you don't need every figure. You're good. You're good. It's like
Or do
I
you?
need to buy an O-ring and fix my Lady J because she broke. She's
I
been
actually
broke
did
like
finally pick up the. I picked up the Coco from Super 7, like the cartoon version, and it's like
yeah,
it's nothing special, but at the same time, like much like their Ultimates G.I. Joes, I'm like, this is kind of the one I wanted. So I'm sort of like, I think
yeah.
I'm in. I think
I
I'm
need
in.
to get the O-ring. I'm probably gonna end up buying way more of the O-ring Super 7 than I should, but I definitely want the cover girl for the shelf.
Yeah.
And because in my head canon as a kid, the blonde cover girl was the original. Like there are two different cover girls. That
Yeah, she
was what
died
I
horribly
always
in an accident.
right. And this is the new cover girl. Like it was a code name. Um,
That'd be a great like IDW comic where they're like, here's the real gritty story of what happened to
yeah,
Covergirl,
right.
and you're like, oh god, like, it's just
Call me
super
IDW.
horrifying.
Yeah, murdered and tortured by Destro or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And they used her genetic material to make Pythona. Dun dun dun. There we go. So
This thing
the
writes itself.
Pythona has the original memories of the original cover girl. G.I.
Which helped her
Joe.
in no ways.
So yeah, I like this Swift one in this picture is like kind of half toy Swift one and half filmation, and I'm just going with the flow.
I am just shading ice, and it's like
Oh,
I should
you're
have thought
almost.
this through more.
Are you done?
I'm getting
Except for
close.
shading the ice.
Yeah, it's sort of like I'm trying to like make sure there's enough contrast between her and the ice, and I'm like, so I had to
Yeah,
kind of like I didn't want to do her first. I want to do your rule of like do your favorite thing last, like
yeah,
as a dessert, as a little treat. But I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know what this is gonna look like. So.
I tend to do well. It helps that for Shira anyway, before I colored a single page, I printed it all out on really fancy paper, and then I would take put it on my light box and then put just a regular piece of printer paper over it and then sit there and play around with it. So what I finally decided for the Kingdom of Snows is it's all like pinks and softer
Like
blues and
purples.
like yeah, it's very purpley lavender pastel-y. If you check out the color and chill from Friday, Kingdom of Snows, like I've
Which I did.
got the color palette there. Not that you need to go and recolor, but it's like that was sort of the thing because I did the first one, it was all blue, and she just got lost in it. And I'm like, what can I do? And I was like, and this is also very much what Earth snow places look like. Let me make Etheria a little bit more. You know, like even here, I was like, well, I'm going to do the water and the stones and everything sort of earthy, but let's do a purple sky. Because there are
Also,
parts
too, I
of
mean, can we have like white background? I mean, it kind of depends on what the actual like earth and sea
yeah,
and
exactly.
sky are doing, kind of thing. So it's going to reflect that pretty hard. So I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. So, and ideal world, I would have thought ahead, and because I printed out all of my Shiro books like long ago. But if I had thought further ahead, 3 years back when I started planning all of this, I would have printed all the Frosta stuff on like tan paper so that I could use some whites in there
yeah,
without
true.
it, but I mean, or I could just waste all of the paper and reprint it, which is not going to happen because
Also, I mean, give your wrist a break. Like it's.
that as well.
I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about like Luke and Leia, where you're like, whew, like half the work's done. That's
Yeah,
Stormtrooper done.
yeah. You would think, but I'm still out of control. I do blue now for Luke and Leia, like for the white parts. That's what I did last week. I just went in with the blue. But that one I finished because thank you, white clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, I did kind of notice he would give like Luke more of a like an earthy white, and then Leia would get
Yep.
that like that crisp, like straight from the seat of power white. And I was like, I see you. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm good with her. I'm sick of
Cool.
coloring snow, so.
Oh, that looks really good. Let me make that front and center. Solo layout. That looks really good, Andrew. You have come
I'm
so
learning.
far. You are like there's shading and like that looks really good, Andrew. I can't. Yeah. Next time you're on here, it's going to be even more amazing. There we go. Excellent.
Now there's expectations. No.
Exactly.
Wait, do I? 1 second.
No, you're getting.
I feel like I'm losing light already.
It's that time of year. But you're also what, 2 hours ahead of me?
At least, yeah. It's like 3:30 here.
Yeah, it's 12:30.
Or 3 hours. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on with more Frosta because I can.
Yeah, do it. That's a good page.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's sunny here. It's bright. And we're getting more sunlight at night, but it's like there's always that time where like it's around this time of day. The dog's like, it's time to eat. It's time. It's time for napping. It's like he's got his own schedule. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's been down at my feet, shedding hair all over my person.
That's what dogs do. They shed hair and they eat. Our cats, of course, are. I'm gonna have to get a new Squishmallow because Oli, the little one, stole mine. He keeps stealing it. Matt bought me a Squishmallow, and it was adorable and cute. And I heard the other, and he's like a little scrawny cat. He's just very muscular, so he kind of gallops like a horse would. And the other night, I heard like this weird. His gallop was off, and I look, and he's got the Squishmallow in his mouth, and he's escaping the bedroom with it. But because it's so big and round, it keeps tripping him up. And then he pulled it up into his chair, and he's been cuddling with it. And I've taken it back twice, and he keeps stealing it. So I'm like, he can keep it. Like, that's his Squishmallow. I'll just get a new one.
Yeah, there's some battles that can't be won. I mean, I'm having this like battle now where he doesn't really do stuffed toys very much for some pretty obvious reasons because it'll be destroyed. But like, goddamn Gumby, who I follow on Instagram, is like, would you like this dog toy for your dog? And I'm like, yes. Despite the damage, despite the wreckage, the carnage that would come, I'm like, I want it.
Yeah, well, and part of it is he doesn't really have like any, like they have too many cat toys. I buy it every payday. I buy like a $15 box on Amazon of just assorted like balls and like mice and like springs and stuff. And like it only gets thrown away if it gets broken. So there's like a huge, which I mean, makes sense, right? The cats are as spoiled as I am, but he doesn't really have anything that's just his. And Matt's cat Seamus has this horrible yak. It was a yak finger puppet that he humps. And there's an entire love song to the yak where he sings to it, and like he then puts it in the floor and dances around it, and then he teabags it. So and he doesn't do it until like we go to bed at night. So like as soon as we lay down and the lights are out.
You feel like those parents and your kids are watching like Skin Max on
right.
HBO.
Literally, like, and on the weekend I usually up past Matt working on stuff. But as soon as Matt lays down, I hear the bedroom light go out. All of a sudden, like, and it starts. And sometimes he'll wait for Matt to start snoring. But last night, as soon as the bedroom light went out and Matt laid down, it started. And Matt just started laughing. It was like, Seamus. And he stopped.
Please God, no.
Seamus stopped.
We know what you're doing.
as soon as Matt started snoring, all of a sudden it started again. And I sort of peeked out because where the office door is, I have a straight line to where they hang out in the living room. And Oli was in the chair with the squishmallow looking horrified, like, oh my God, what is happening here? And I was like, that's your big brother. So anyway, Seamus has his yak that he humps. So that's his. Oli has a squishmallow. And Gus doesn't really have anything specifically his, but he has a lot of blankets that he likes. But he's a big old cuddly cuddle cat, so.
Yeah, I found like my dog, like I bought him, you know, of course, when you first get a dog, you're like, here's all the toys, and they don't care about it. And then, or he destroyed some. But then, like, I'll continue to buy stuff and be like, do you like this? And he's like, no. But he found this, like, choking hazard, gross, half falling apart ball in the dog park, like 3 years ago, I swear to God. And, like,
oh my God. Right.
It's his favorite thing. And, like, at least once a day, he'll come and, like, bring it to me. And he's like, this is awesome. And I'm like, it was disgusting then. It's horrible now, but he's like,
worse.
He accidentally threw it off the balcony one time, and I had to like go down 10 flights and find this thing in the trash, you know, because he was like beside himself, like he lost his firstborn child. He was like screaming and crying, and I'm like,
aww,
let me go find this horrible, disgusting ball.
That's so sweet though.
That's the thing. I'm like, he's ride or die with that thing. So I'm like, you can't fight the moonlight. You just gotta like.
The only sort of stuffed animal that Augustus has is those little chirpy birds that have the sound chip in it. And when we give them to him, it's a real bird that he hunts and kills. So randomly, I'll step on the chip, and it's kind of like stepping on a Lego. And but he guts them like a cat, you know, like how cats would gut a real bird. It's like he rips the sides out of them and pulls everything out, so their sides are completely open, and the rest of it, I'm just like, he's been an indoor cat his entire life. He's never ever had like a real bird. He can see them through the window now because where we are, we have blue jays in our backyard. But he's never actually interacted with a real bird yet. That's how strong the instinct is in a cat, that this fake stuffed chirpy bird gets treated as though he's captured and murdered a bird. So this is why we can never move to New Zealand.
There's lots of animals down there.
Among other reasons.
The price. That's like, I think it's like, my dog doesn't go after like squirrels or whatever, like nothing like that. But I mean, there was one time where like some other husky was kind of like stalking a large pigeon, and we were like, none of us had any, we were like, whatever. And then that dog got the pigeon, and then my dog was right beside him, and he was like full like Hulk smash, like let's destroy this bird. And that bird like exploded all over the place. And I'm like, well, my child's a murderer now, so that's great. That
was a good feeling.
Yeah, like you've tasted blood. That's awesome.
There's no going back. Yeah, anytime we get a delivery, Gus growls at the delivery, but then he runs and hides. So I'm like, sir, I don't know that the birds have anything to fear from you, frankly.
No.
It's like grrr, and then he runs. I'm like, packages are here.
It's good to know.
Yeah. He is also super nosy. He'll get up in the window, and like in the apartment, it wasn't necessarily a big deal because we weren't facing a road or anything. It was just, we had the weird cult church right behind us doing all their weird cult stuff back there. Singing really badly. Although the last Sunday that I lived there, when I was packing up, I did throw the sliding glass door open, and I did crank WAP by
Cardi B?
Yep, that one.
Macaroni
and
it
was not the edited for television. It was like
no. It
really
was the sloppy one.
While they were back there. So I hope they enjoyed my religious morning that day as much as I enjoyed all of their religious mornings. I get it, but like, sir, you have an entire church inside. Why are you out behind my house rehearsing for Midsummer. So,
Yeah, no thanks.
because that's what it felt like. It felt like they were like this close to like murdering somebody back there and like covering them in flowers, and then I don't know.
Well, that's how I want to go. Off a cliff.
Well, and I Googled their website because I'm like, let me just make sure I'm not being judgmental. I mean, I'm being judgmental, but not bad judgmental, right?
Yeah,
And
like, are you Buddhist?
I was on their website and I was just like, I don't know. Like, oh, no, no. These people are weird and not a good way. So, anyway, we don't have that. Anyway, but that's all Gus used to have to look at. And, like, that's fine. But he'll be up he was up in the window the other day and I went to see what he was looking at. And literally the neighbor, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his hookup or whatever, but she shows up like every Thursday around 2:00, and then she's gone by 4. And I know because Gus is up in the window watching the whole thing. I'm just like, sir. It's like you were reminding me of my youth in the South where like like where Bessie was always up in the window watching everything that happened in this neighborhood.
Look, nosy cat.
Bessie and her sister Beulah on patrol. Oh, yeah.
God, like a whole like menagerie of, and that's the thing too. I'm like, there's the the ever present debate of cat versus dog kind of thing. So like, I have to go outside a lot, but at the same time, like, there's no dead animals brought towards my feet and be like, look what I killed for you today. And I'm like, no thanks.
We had a cat when I was a kid that one Thanksgiving, it was an indoor outdoor cat. And one Thanksgiving, Mom cooked everything. It was one of the few Thanksgivings we stayed at home and didn't travel to see family. And so my mom was excited. It was her first actual Thanksgiving she was making. The stuffing was so fucking dry. I never let her forget that dry stuffing. That's why my stuffing is
to this day.
It's complicated, right? Because I complicated it so my stuffing is never dry. And the key is you saute a bunch of vegetables in butter and then throw in bacon. And that usually keeps your stuffing from drying out because of all the fat in the bacon. Anyway, that was a side adventure. So anyway, my mom's really proud. She's made this huge spread. We've all eaten, first round of eating on Thanksgiving. It's all, we're all go take naps, but it's the South, Louisiana. So it was like 70 degrees. So the doors are open.
Of course.
And, we live in a place where it's like you can leave your doors open, and if they get to your door, God help them. And when we get up, there's a dead rat on the table because our cat had gone outside and contributed to the Thanksgiving feast.
Which is very thoughtful.
Yeah, very thoughtful, and they cleaned it. Like all the guts were gone. It was just the meaty part. So, but the head and the tail were still there, of course. So luckily it only touched my mom called it divinity. It was this weird like drop cookie she would make with like powdered sugar that tasted like chalk. And I hated it, but she loved it so much you had to pretend you liked it. So the rat tail that was the only thing the rat tail touched was those cookies. So she had to throw those out. Thanks, cat.
You saved me, cat.
Yeah, the cat and the rat saved me that year from those horrible cookies. I had a teacher who was like, those are my favorite cookies. And I'm like, oh, good. Because she would make them weekly. And so I would just go, and of course I'm thinking she thought I liked them, but I would go and like take like 10 of them, put them in a bag, and then take them to my teacher, and then sit there and watch her chew on them, and be like, "You're gross.
You eat every goddamn one of these.
You're gonna have them.
You like them so much.
You like them so much, you should marry them." And based on her husband, she would have been better off marrying the gross white chalky cookies. Because her husband was gross, white, and chalky, so she was obviously part of what she was into.
It's her jam, her fetish.
Anyway, that poor woman. She's not dead yet. But her husband is.
Well, the day's young. You never know.
You know, she's
Um,
probably remarried by now. She was one of my friends, like, and her sort of threw down in class one day. And my friend looked at her and was like, I hope a car runs over you, but just your legs because you're pregnant and your baby doesn't deserve any bad things just because you're its mom. And I'm like, that's hardcore. Like,
I was like, good for
we're
you.
friends.
Like you're committed to this, like curse, like.
And because I'm also terrible, I was thinking, but like, I'm like, yeah, but your baby doesn't deserve that. But look at what the baby's going to get for a mom. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're all happy now.
Or not.
And if not, I'll go look them up on Facebook after this.
This is where like I left Facebook some time ago, and I'm kind of like happy about it because I'm like the temptation to like find people I hate on there.
Right.
It's too great. I can't be trusted.
I would love to just completely leave it, but it's like it's part of, like I do have a bunch of family in this, family that I do stay in touch with and care and friends. And it's really easier with the time difference between there and here to sort of,
Yeah, fair enough.
but at the same time, like I mostly can do that through Messenger, and you can use Messenger without actually having Facebook. So I might actually.
Yeah, I think if you have Instagram, like you have like Meta,
Yeah.
so I mean you can sort of utilize the same thing anyway.
And like Instagram and Threads haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm like, okay,
Understandable.
you need to go. But Facebook is it's unusable. I went the other day and just put sort of my home feed on, and it was all ads, stuff that I don't follow. And it's like for every post from somebody I actually follow, that is actually a friend or a family, like I had to get through 7 advertisement posts.
Yep.
And if I didn't have an
I'm
ad
noticing.
blocker, I can't imagine how bad that would be.
Yeah, I feel like Instagram finally, like just this week, I opened it up and it was like the first thing I saw was an ad. And usually, like they'll kind of like at least like pretend to not be about the ads, and I might see if an actual post or two, but I was like, nope.
Well,
I need to be told to buy this Toyota Sonata because like that's what I need in my life right now is this car.
Well, and that's why it's so noticeable, because a lot of the stuff they're advertising to me is not stuff I'm interested in anyway. So it's actually, I mean, I just have been going through and blocking.
Yeah,
because it's like I don't care about that. Like,
as much as I'm like, I don't want you like using my data to like use analytics to like sell me thing, blah blah blah. At the same time, like there's the odd time where I will like go out of my way to be like, I don't want this. Like,
well, that's part of it. It's like you're using our data anyway. Please use it responsibly. Like, yeah, okay, you're gonna sell it to advertisers. Make sure you're selling it to the right ones, because I like if you're gonna target me with ads, target me with the right ads. Like,
well, I mean, the amount of like Pampers commercials and like big trucks with big wheels commercials and like all, and I'm like, who do you like? Like, you know who I am, like, or some machine out there, like some ghost of the machine knows who I am. Like, this isn't it. Like, stop it.
Advertising to me, like, the girlies who are like, oh my god, this is what you need to make your man love you, and it's like, bitch, my man loves me already. I don't need your little tip. Like, this is for the single ladies who can't keep a man because they keep dating losers.
Yeah. I'm always like shocked how like how much I concentrate. I don't know how you do this like almost like damn near full time, because I'm like so invested in the coloring. I'm like, yeah, bitch.
Well, it helps.
The color in the skin.
Yeah. Like it's because in the beginning it was like different, but the more I do it, the easier it gets. Because we have a retro cavalcade chat. Surprise, guys. So Derek and Andrew and I chat pretty regularly, pretty much daily at this point. Even if it's
Yeah.
just sharing reels. Yeah, but you'll see how often I'll drop video, like drop a page like this video is going to be a short in a few weeks or whatever. Just finished this. The whole time I'm doing that though, I've got YouTube. Like yesterday when I was watching your videos, when I was getting everything set up to start filming. So I've, like that's part of what helps is that I have the background noise. And certain things when I'm coloring it, like Shira at this point is kind of almost autopilot because I color Shira so much. It's like there's sort of a formula for how I want the boots to look and the skin and the hair. So it's like, that helps. Like,
Yeah, it's not like some like super obscure character where you're like, I mean, even Frosta, like fave character, but still, I'm like, what color is the belt? Like, there's still some
yeah,
second guessing. But
yeah,
like, if it's the Princess Leia of it all, you're like, well, I know.
yeah. Oh God,
what
right.
the color's gonna be.
Yeah, it's like I dropped recently that short with like Han and Leia in the Ewok village. It took me like 2.5 hours to do that page. In the beginning, that would have been like a 4 hour filming. But at this point, it's like I know sort of what colors to use for Leia. Ewok Celebration Leia. Like these are the colors for the dress. This is the color for her hair because her hair is a slightly different color because most of that is just a big old wig.
Yeah.
Carrie
The first
Fisher's
time she
hair
wears like a
not
flat,
that long.
Yeah, because it's very much like the Council of Troy of it all coming, where you take all your hair and make this big bouffant and then just jam some like totally different color wig on the back of your head.
Yeah,
You're
like even
wiggery.
Her braids in the first movie, like to have that much hair, her hair would be down to her feet.
Well, I got so confused about that when I was younger because I'm all like, I didn't know about wigs, but it wasn't like I couldn't fathom them. I'm like, wow, she must have an absurdly long hair to do this. Didn't it occur to me you could just sort of go like plunk and attach it?
Right.
And likewise, I mean, like the ponytail and the Jabba seams, that huge long hair, like for for the Ewok village. I mean, all of this it's all fake. And I mean, like, and I sort of see it now, especially because I mean,
oh yeah,
I know drag queens, so I know exactly like what makes a good wig and what makes a bad wig. And so
well,
like I'm watching Nicole Kidman and I'm like, bad wig.
Nicole Kidman is always in a wig. Like I don't think we've seen her real, except when they get those shots of her at the airport.
Exactly.
But that's been true of her though since like the Days of Thunder days. Like she stopped using her real hair really early on. So good for her. You go, girl.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But the Princess Leia of it, like it's a lot more obvious, like sort of with all these cleaned up versions, because you can really tell that the hair is not quite the same color. It was not evident like in 1983, when things weren't all high def and you're lucky if your theater, even for a brand new movie, got a nice print that didn't have some like grit and some scratch in it.
Yeah, that's God, the amount of like those little like almost kind of like flame pieces that would come up in the theater. Like, well, that's the other thing too. I mean, again, like the Council of Troy of it, where she's like, they did. I don't think Deep Space Nine or Voyager, but for the original series and Next Gen, they definitely did give it that like that 4K, bump. And Marina Sirtis was all like, guess who's Greek and had a mustache like that for all 7 of those years. Like, I didn't really need to worry about it back then, but now suddenly it's staring me in the face.
Yeah, HD is not. There's even that that episode of 30 Rock where they make fun of that, where Liz Lemon is like, when she gets her show Deal Breaker or whatever, they're like, let's see you in high def, and it's just like a completely different actress, like Acme and
100%. It's such a personal attack.
But yeah, I don't know, like. But yeah, so for all of that, like I pretty much, even when it's a different set of pencils at this point, I kind of can, if I know the pencils well enough, I can pick out you know, like if I can get like a range of these 4 browns, I can do Princess Leia hair. For Star Wars or for Empire or whatever. So, and She-Ra's easy because she's like a Barbie blonde. And all Barbie blonde starts with cream. And then, let's see, it's pretty close to actually what I used for the gold. So yeah, so after you do the cream, you just go and sort of, and lightly do some burnt ochre wherever. I try to do it where I want there to be sort of like the illusion of the shine. Some of this also for She-Ra and Barbie was from paying attention to the art, you know, like the cardback art for especially the first wave of She-Ra, and then a lot of those years Mattel would do art for the Barbie fashions, and just sort of paying attention to the colors. And another that helped was the Mattel Dazzle dolls. Was sort of looking at that main screen really quick.
That is a waistline. Holy cow.
Yeah, right?
She doesn't look like that.
Yeah, right. But just paying attention to sort of like looking at it really close, there's like browns and reds in here. And then it's just all sort of blended. And the same with the hair. It's like it's basically like a cream, and then there's some bright yellow, and then some like reddish browns, and just sort of paying attention to their art helped me sort of, and you know, like I don't do it exactly like they do, but just sort of looking at what colors they use on that art helped me sort of figure out how I wanted it, you know, how to make it work for me. So
also too, I mean, like I know these are cartoon characters, but at the same time, like no one has sort of like a hair color necessarily. Like there's different, like, you know, I wouldn't say an ombre to it, but I mean, like,
yeah,
depending on the sunlight, I'm either like stark white or ginger or something in the middle. Like it just really kind of depends on like where I'm at, like physically where I'm at, what light sources are happening.
but I think and for me, and this is, you know, one of the things I've sort of, because I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the Filmation She-Ra or the designs. I know a lot of people prefer those. I like the toy designs. I like the extra, I like the pastels. I like, you know, like I could have been in the focus group of little girls that they used to, like, when they were like, oh wait, these colors are too, these are too boy, these are, you know, the boys like these colors, the girls don't. You know, in Filmation, most of those colors are the original toy colors before that focus group. Castaspella originally was like blue and yellow, and then she went to all sort of the pastels after the focus group.
Well, it's like yesterday, I think we both shared that video by Skysled where he did that sort of like that brief catalog shot of I don't know what, like I don't know if those are the originals or like what stage necessarily those are in, but I mean like some of them definitely had like different sculpts, and She-Ra had sort of more this traditional headpiece than the one we got.
Well, and it was all made of the
the same material, yeah.
The material of the back. It's like the fit to be tied. It was basically the same material they made the crown for the fit to be tied fashion.
Yeah, which is the, you know, Filmation crown one. But I mean, like the colors, I mean, I did like them better. Like that's the thing. Like as soon as I saw those, I was like, not to be like, you know, a Filmation purist, but I mean, like they do pop more. Like I mean, that's what my big thing about Castaspella was, is that like she's like piss yellow over pale yellow over orange, and I'm like, this is boring. Like you could like,
and I prefer that. Like to me, I'm like, that's so pretty. But again, you know, like, boys are they're, you know, like you know, as much as we want to talk about, you know, there are just certain, especially in the 80s, like, you know, the 80s, it was just like there were things that just divided.
That's something I had to like. I had to kind of like come to terms with this too, like, and probably like I think the 90s, and again coming back to Sailor Moon of it all, I had to sort of contend with, because I mean, like in my head, I grew up with like comics, and especially like DC comics, but also Marvel, and I mean, like, it's that thing where I'm like, I know these strong chicks who are great and could be great role models for the girlfriends that I have, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I don't understand where the divide is, kind of thing. So there's two things. One is that, like, most of these friends I had just didn't watch these things. They had no interest in them, and I get that. But once I showed them, like, Star Wars, Alien 2, Terminator
Right.
2, they were like, oh. But at the same time, they would be like, these were like, we were in our teenage years when, like, Sailor Moon came out, but they were like, yeah, Sailor Moon. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you have so many better options. Like, what is this? And it took me a while to be like, they like the fruitiness of it and the fashion
Hmm.
of it, and just sort
Yeah.
of like the, solving your problems through emotional intelligence. And I was like, oh, like, there is
And
actually,
it's
like, I mean,
really,
there's just a totally different way, like, to go through this.
and sort of the ridiculousness of that, the romance with Tuxedo Mask, like it's ridiculous, but at
Yeah,
the same time, it's very like,
it is endearing. Like, I did sit down and watch it, and I'm like, like, I do kind of get
and,
it.
Sailor Moon specifically, like there's also something I think for a lot of girls, not me, um, but for a lot of girls, there's something really appealing about your daughter from the future coming back in time to hang out with you and try to help you be like a better person in your youth. Like that's a
Be
very
a better mom in the
specific,
future.
like, yeah, like there's a very specific for girls who have that motherly instinct and want to like have babies, like that particular element like is really powerful. Like, and it makes sense. Like, like my friend that I was mentioning earlier who was like really into it. Oh, oh, we're locked up. Oh, oh, did it lock up?
StreamYard.
Did it lock up again?
Maybe I can see
Uh,
her hand.
okay, I can't. So it's locked up on my side. But I forgot to remove it. Thankfully, I forgot to remove it from solo mode, or it would have, because I'm looking at backstage where Sandra lead me. So, all right. Well, I will just keep coloring. We'll keep talking because it's working on your side enough. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back. Oh, and I got unblocked. Okay, there we go. Exit solo layout. Man, StreamYard. So, anyway,
StreamYard.
as I was saying, anyway, the friend though who was very Sailor Moonish, she has a daughter now, and they're besties. Like they make art together. They like do a lot of stuff together. Like they sort of live out in the country, so like they're always, out in the yard digging and planting and just, But she loved Chibi Moon, like. You kind of look back at that, and I'm like, this dynamic really makes sense. Like, like, and she's getting to like live that out. Not, I almost said play it out, but and that helped me understand though why people liked it. I was like, she really liked that, and this is why.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That I mean, people have different priorities and different what they get
Yeah,
out of, like, pop culture, kind of thing. So it's that thing where, like, I had to kind of like recalibrate a bit and be like, I know I'm right. However,
right.
there might be a different perspective out there.
When I think for the as far as the Princess of Power and the color thing, I think you nailed it without necessarily like hitting on why, but comic books, right? Comic books are all for color.
Yep. And very
I mean, like,
contrasting. Like, there has to be a huge, because they had to do that for print. Like, it had to be
yeah,
high contrast costumes.
so for, and like those original designs of Princess of Power were probably a lot more in line with, you know, comic
What my
books. And,
expectations were, yeah.
well, a lot of the early work on Princess of Power was done by Justine Danzer, who directly before that had been working over at Kenner. And anytime you see those superpower, the art for like the Linda Danvers and the Bizarro
Oh
Girl
yeah.
doll and the Supergirl dolls and like Lois Lane, all of that was Justine Danzer. She was a designer on Glamour Gals. And allegedly, based on the research I have and some of the Crystal Castles artwork that went up to auction originally, and this sort of ties in with some of the Amethyst Princess of Gemworld stuff. She originally at Kenner was sort of working on a girl's action figure line. And my guess right now, I can't prove this yet, I'm still trying to prove it, is that part of why she left Kenner was whenever they got the DC contract, rather than going with her original action figure design, they're like, oh, we've got Amethyst Princess of Gemworld now. And of course, then Justine went to Mattel and got put on She-Ra. Well, Leela, Tila's twin sister, who would later become She-Ra through
that's right.
everything.
Yeah.
And then, and Amethyst Princess of Gemworld didn't happen because that year when they got to Toy Fair, Mattel had She-Ra and then Galoob had Golden Girl. And Kenner was just like, never mind.
To hell with this.
Because as big as Amethyst sort of was at that time in comic books, like outside of comic books, she had no, I
was gonna say, like, I was gonna ask about Amethyst because it's like, was she sort of like the Lois Lane of the time, where like we kind of look back at those comic book covers, especially, and we're like, what the hell was that? But I mean, that book sold like gangbusters, and you wouldn't think it, but I mean, Lois was like hot ass comic at the time, so I feel like. Yeah. Was Amethyst in that realm where it's like, who's buying this? Like,
Amethyst sold really, really well. But it's also important to note at the time, Amethyst was selling really well. It was the same time that Camelot 3000 was selling really well. It was the same time that the Teen Titans had blown up. And Amethyst was really sort of pushed as sort of, and it hit in 80, I'm trying to remember. I think that preview issue where, like, the preview issue hit in 1983, I think, and it was a pack-in, like an additional few pages in an issue of Legion of Superheroes. And so it was at the height of the sort of sword and sorcery revival that happened in 80s, but it was Amethyst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that time, like ElfQuest was happening. Colleen Doran's, I think this is around the time one of her first versions of The Distant Soil were being published by the ElfQuest assholes. So there were definitely women sort of moving into comics and interested in things other than just superheroes. And one of the things Jeanette Kahn did at DC was she really pushed for them to push the envelope, right? Teen Titans wouldn't have become Teen Titans if Jeanette Kahn hadn't have been pushing for the storytelling. Like, she was really had her eye on how to make
also,
things.
I mean, they were in direct competition with X-Men, and they were like neck and neck month after month for the top spot. So I mean, like, if you wanted to be the top dog, you needed like sexy teens doing sexy things with big problems. Like, it's so like, and they were constantly at war with each other, trying to outdo each other. And X-Men won out in the end.
Well, also, though,
Teen Titans was doing good.
But at that point, DC had just had Superman, which had been huge. And Super Friends was huge. And DC was really starting to understand marketing. Thus, 1982 style, which fingers crossed will be here tomorrow or Tuesday. And then we can show it off on Retro Cavalcade. But but Amethyst did really well. Where Amethyst lost steam whenever it came back as a regular series. And twofold. One, it didn't have Ernie Colon on art, and his art for the first 12 issues was really specific. A really specific part of why the series worked. Two, this first 12 issues were very much sort of written as a one and done. So they kind of had to go back and really sort of mine. They had planted a few seeds for future stories, but like, they had to go back and sort of dig all of that up without the original artist being available right away. And then it hit right when Crisis was hitting. So then, like they had to...
Throw the wrinkle.
Yeah, it was just sort of bad timing all around. And it's one of those things where every time they try to bring her back, it's not with the original team. And I feel like there's some characters that other than the original team, people just don't get it. Like some concepts, I don't think you can just hand off to any sort of creative team. And I think that's what happened with Amethyst.
Yeah, I
So
feel like if she did have that sort of like Elf Quest kind of treatment, it'd be different. But again, it's and I think sort of what I've mentioned before, where they keep trying to put the male gaze view on it and the
yeah,
comic book look on it. And you're like, that's not what it is. This is like, I mean, it is sort of like the She-Ra high fantasy fruitiness of it all. Is you kind of need that instead.
yeah, and what I mean, rereading the issue, I recently well, I say recent, like within the last 10 years, have reread the entire run of it, and what happens is the original 12 issues is pretty dark, but also very girly. Like it's not a book only girls could enjoy of the time. It was written in a way where it's like anyone who enjoys fantasy and swords and sorcery will probably enjoy this. When they brought back the regular series, it was much more of a girly comic and not in a good way. Like it feels like they were trying to make it a girly comic, and it just, like nobody get mad at me for what I'm about to say, but there are certain things that straight white men don't do well at, and girly comics is often that.
Yeah.
And the girliness of the original miniseries was different, right? I don't know how to explain it. They had Karen Berger, who was like, you know, oh shit. She helped found Vertigo, but I was about to say she was one of the reasons we got the Sandman comics with Neil Gaiman, but we're not talking about that today.
That's a whole other topic. God.
I have
I'm
not
not a
bought
Harry Potter fan, but now I understand Death of the Author very well because I'm like, ooh, I feel you. I feel you,
yeah,
Harry Potter fans.
I've got a lot of, and it's really hard. It's more, in my opinion, it's harder with a comic book because
Yeah.
comic book writer, important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not at all. As somebody who does a lot of writing, I'm not going to say the writer is not a chief component, but for Sandman, it's like if you cancel the author of Sandman, rightly so for doing gross stuff. When it comes to a comic, you have the co-writer, you have the artist, you have the inker, you have the
Letterer,
letterer.
the editor or
The
something.
letterer still gets royalties anytime. Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
It's probably like $10 every 5 years or whatever the original letterers
Yeah.
of the series get. But that's $10
Mhm.
a month that person didn't get otherwise. So for comic books, it's really hard um, to be as black and white with somebody like, say, Joanne Rowling, where it's like, like everybody made their money from those movies. Like anything extra they make, whatever, from the
Mhm.
reviews. So it's easier, like when it's the author, it's the original creator, it's a specific actor. Kevin Spacey, like when it was time for
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey to go away, House of Cards fired him and like changed the story so that the actors and actresses and the cast and crew, like they all got their last bit of payment.
Yeah, they
They
didn't suffer
suffered,
for his
but they
misery.
suffered. They didn't suffer full, as much as they could have. Comic books,
Mhm.
especially knowing what we know about how little those people make, about how many of them, like if you get on a book that sells well, like, I mean, full disclosure, Colleen Doran, I'm on her Patreon. She's one of my favorite creators for her Distant Soil stuff more than anything. But a big chunk of her retirement was based on dependable royalties from stuff like Sandman always being in print. She's worked with Neil Gaiman a couple times. So not only is she in this, I'm going to shut up. Anyway, what I'm going to say is if it were me, I would not only be shocked that somebody I knew did something terrible and I had no clue, but now you're having to figure out this money that was previously you could count on is suddenly gone. So anyway,
Yeah,
it's just
because
more
of
complicated.
grossness.
Yeah, exactly. And you definitely want to punish the evildoer who did the bad thing, but you also like don't want more people to suffer because of that person, and it's a little bit more complicated than a book going out of print eventually, because books always go out of print anyway. So
Yep.
all right, quickly, this is true. Alex left Sailor Moon. I would have as well. I always daydreamed about Amethyst, done in the same style as She-Ra, actually.
Yeah.
I think you would like it, Minton. The first 12 issues, especially. After that, it's hit or miss, obviously, as we've said, but I definitely think you would enjoy them. So it's about 10 after. I'm going to finish up She-Ra Skin really quick. Do you want to hang out for another 10, 15 minutes tops?
Yeah, for sure.
You did run. Okay, cool. I just don't want to.
I am going to pause though for a second because my dog is demanding. So
No.
I'm nearby.
Yeah. Go take care of the puppy. If I stop now, she won't get finished, and she's almost finished. So, but yeah, no, definitely. I recommend. I think there are collection. If you read digital comics, it should all be digital now. If you don't, should be still collections out there. Highly recommend the first 12 issues. And it's funny because as a kid, I was reading the comics as She-Ra was coming out, so I always sort of it would be really cool if they did some Amethyst. Just like She-Ra, not realizing the reason we didn't get Amethyst action figures was because of She-Ra and Golden Girl. Kenner was like, it will saturate the market. Which is, in my opinion, a weird take.
I mean, that's how the girl lines went, where it's all like, we can't have more than one. Although, I mean, frankly, the boys' lines were not dissimilar. I mean, you sort of had I guess Black Star didn't get it, but I mean, or no, was it Black Star? One of them?
Black Star?
One of the Strong Barbarian. Did he get a toy line, or was the other guy, the...
Thundar the Barbarian didn't get a toy line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yep. But yeah, we can't have or Conan. They were going to do Conan for a while. And they didn't bother doing that. It's basically
well, and then Remco. Remco did Conan eventually. I think, in my opinion, though, I was always the more, my brother I didn't have any of the Conan stuff because I thought Conan was dumb, and there was no Grace Jones in either of those in the Conan line. And there wasn't what's her name from the first movie, and they didn't give us Olivia D'Arbo. No, it wasn't Olivia. It was her sister. Maybe no, it was Olivia. But Patricia is the older one. Okay, yeah, we didn't get the princess from Conan the Destroyer. We didn't get Grace Jones. We didn't get the lady from We didn't get the Ursa from the Phantom Zone villain, who was the villain in the first Conan movie. They'd stuck some girls in that line, I would have been there.
For sure, but I mean, the girls in the line were not maybe suitable for the toil. And that's the thing, I haven't bought them yet, and we'll see what happens if they made the third character. But I mean, I keep seeing those Fire and Ice figures, and I'm like, I want these so bad because they're so Frazetta-y, because they make them so over-sexualized and so over the top. And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted always. But obviously they were never going to be on, toy else beside Duke and Snake Eyes.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think, and I think Amethyst is a little different because it did have the DC Comics thing. I think also they could have very well folded that into superpowers.
Yeah. I've sort of looked to see if they were going to do that as part of the pitch. Definitely not. We don't know what happened during the actual pitch meeting. We saw the presentation materials, but we don't know what was said.
Well, there's an interview with Dan Mishkin where he was talking about Amethyst was going to be its own separate toy line.
And that's the thing they kind of and they really wanted the girls market, which Kenner wasn't really a huge part of, but they definitely once they got wanted to do a lot with it.
What is the number one toy line for girls from 1980 to 1983? It's not Barbie.
Oh, I guess strawberry shortcake. Yeah.
Like that was it. Strawberry
Yeah,
shortcake.
that was huge. Yeah.
And then and then Barbie and then Glamour Gals was pretty high up there. Like Glamour Gals did so well that Mattel did Dazzle to like do their Gem and their Barbie and the Rockers thing where they tried to like kill and that's I think part of what killed Glamour Gals. That and nobody knew what the frick the story was for it.
I remember seeing those and I'm like, they're just vibing, they're just having parties on yachts, and I'm like, yeah. I get it.
Well, I know what the story is because I have the coloring book. But that's a really weird place to I do, and it's all scanned and cleaned up and printed, and at some point
y'all better watch out.
You ever wonder what the story of Glamour Gals is? Your girl got you.
You're gonna learn whether you like it or not.
You're gonna learn. That's what this channel is for. We're gonna learn. But
with extreme prejudice.
In the club, we're all Glamour Gals. Yeah, no, there's literally I've got about 50% of Glamour Gals, Glamour Gals Part 1 written. So some point.
We got Silver K in the chat.
Kayla. Hello. Lovely to see you. Really quick, we are gonna wrap up because and I just finished. But really quick to address this is an urban toy legend. Was not. Often people are like, oh look, here's a prototype. That was from I believe Toy Otter. I could be wrong about who debunked it. But it was just a Swamp Thing that was sort of dressed up for the Swamp Thing toy line Kenner did, and that issue of Tomart's magazine, which is not the one I have. The one I have, well,
the one with the Catwoman on the cover that was also not.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Superpowers.
And the Tomart's I have is this one, which has sort of a Superman made from C-3PO. And then these are Glamour Gal, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. This is your episode next week is Superpowers, right?
Yep.
So yeah, this is so that's what it was gonna be. This one doesn't have,
I think like Toy Collector magazine, I think next month or maybe the month after, like they do have some sort of like expose on more Superpowers stuff. So I'm certainly curious about what they've uncovered.
I need to cave and subscribe to that because I feel like that's a place for me to learn some stuff. So we miss you too, Kayla, and I need to ping you because there's some stuff we're gonna be doing on the Cavalcade that would be perfect for Kayla to join us for. All right, so I finished. And on that note, we should start wrapping up. Have we decided about Thursday yet, or is that still up in the air?
I think we're doing it. So
all right.
That's not committal, but yes, we're doing it.
Tentatively this Thursday we'll figure the time out, but this Thursday the Retro Cavalcade will convene, which is the 30th. Yep, the 30th. We're going to talk about we're going to discuss briefly Gem and the hologram, the doll that has been, thank you Garrett Sander. We're going to briefly talk about that, and then we're Thundercats, He-Man, and then we're going to bitch about Todd McFarlane some more because what else would we do on the Cavalcade? And then so that's going to happen this week. What else do you have coming other than your date, Andrew?
The dates I don't have. But what have I got coming up? So yeah, I've got next week is going to be Superpowers. We're doing the Super Family, so like the lowest, the Supergirls, the Power Girls, but all.
Excellent.
After that is Ring Raiders, which I hate, and you'll see why. And I think there's quite a few coming up. I know Street Sharks is in the mix. There's quite a few. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing too. I remember starting this year thinking, I'm like, I think I'm running out. And then I actually did like sort of a list of what still needs to be done. And Nope, still going strong. Lots of checks we didn't get back in the day. So many.
That's the answer to your never-ending story.
Truly is.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Let's see, tomorrow, I've got stuff tomorrow. Let me look. I've got stuff all the time. I've got too much stuff, probably. Oh my God, what are you doing? I'm just trying to look YouTube at my shit that's coming out. Stop. Oh, wait. Okay, there we go. Stop trying to make fetch happen. All right, let's see. Tomorrow I have a video hitting. It's I'm coloring some Star Wars pages. It's a pre-record. I bought this Grisé Land and Sea set that Amazon kept telling me I needed to own. So I bought it. I tried it. I colored some pages with it. Check it out. It's fun. And then Wednesday, if I can finish editing this evening, the Villain Obscura for Selena from the Supergirl movie will hit. It was 6 months in the making video because I have to keep recording my audio because I hate it. And then next Sunday, I will be here. Well, next Friday, I've got my solo live stream. And the next Sunday, I will probably be here on my own. Because I want to try to do the first Sunday of every month is solo, just to talk about what's coming up on the channel. So that's kind of coming, and they're shorts. They're always shorts. So yeah, that's what we got. So watch some stuff, like, subscribe. Go check out Andrew's channel and like and subscribe if you haven't. He does really good work, or I wouldn't keep dragging him back here to hang out with me. Well, that and we get obviously sassy and messy when we're together. Which apparently you people like. Oh wait, we missed. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
It's been a really long January. It's going to be a really long. So, which is a good reason to like come and hang out with us on YouTube when we're around, because we're trying to do fun stuff. So with that said, I thank you all for joining me. We will see you next time. And I was going to say something really witty at the end, but whatever. As if.
Can't all be winners.
Right? Mr. Hall, the topic is Haiti, and she's talking about some little party. Whatever. It was his 50th birthday. And on that note, we'll see you at the next one.